Clara stood on the quiet cobblestone street and looked at the empty old shop window. Inside, thick gray dust covered the floor, and old wooden counters slept in the darkness. She wiped the cold glass with her hand so she could see the space clearly. Despite the heavy mess, she instantly imagined the warm aroma of fresh bread baking here. This dark, dirty room was the perfect place to start her cozy dream bakery today. She pulled a beautiful, heavy brass key from her soft pocket with a nervous smile. The old lock turned slowly, and the dusty front door opened with a loud creak. Clara stepped inside with excitement, ready to change her life and begin her journey. The next morning, Clara visited the crowded, colorful local farmers market to buy fresh supplies. Friendly sellers shouted cheerfully under bright red and white-striped canvas tents in the sun. She walked past wooden tables filled with sweet red apples and organic yellow lemons. Clara stopped at a specialty flour stall to inspect the high-quality wheat grain options. She touched the warm, golden grains and smiled at their beautiful, natural texture today. A friendly local farmer helped her choose the best ingredients for her artisan bread. She happily loaded her brown canvas bags with sweet honey, butter, and clean yeast. Feeling extremely happy and inspired, she walked home with her heavy bags of treasure. Back in her cozy kitchen, Clara prepared her workspace under the warm yellow ceiling light. She measured the white flour and sweet white sugar carefully with a small spoon. She added warm water and active yeast to make a soft, sticky dough mixture. Clara kneaded the dough gently with her hands, feeling its soft, elastic texture change. She covered the large ceramic bowl with a clean cloth to let it rise. While waiting, she wrote down secret recipe ideas in a small leather notebook. Late at night, she watched her first experimental loaf rise in the small oven. The kitchen smelled absolutely wonderful, and she smiled with deep satisfaction at her work. Early the next morning, Clara returned to the dusty shop carrying bright, colorful cans of paint. She carefully tied her curly auburn hair back and put on a clean white work apron. With a large wooden brush, she painted the old brick walls a beautiful, soft cream color. Next, she assembled rustic wooden shelves to display all her future fresh bread creations. She swept the dirty floor energetically until the dark wooden tiles sparkled beneath her feet. A kind neighbor paused at the open door to offer some warm words of encouragement. Together, they carefully hung a beautiful vintage wooden clock high up on the main wall. Though she felt tired, Clara stood back proudly to admire her bright, transformed bakery. At dawn, a cool blue light filled the quiet streets outside Clara's clean bakery. Inside, the large kitchen was warm, and she was already busy preparing the dough. She rolled out sweet pastry dough on her floured marble counter with a pin. Clara carefully shaped croissants, dusting them with a small pinch of sweet white sugar. She opened the hot, bright oven door and slit the heavy metal trays inside. Soon, a wonderful aroma of warm, sweet vanilla filled every corner of the room. The sun rose slowly, painting the fresh, golden croissants in beautiful, warm orange light. Clara took the hot trays out, her heart full of pride and great anticipation. Clara carefully arranged the warm, golden croissants in the clean glass display counter today. She flipped the sign on the wooden door from closed to open with joy. Outside, a small, curious crowd waited happily under the warm morning sun on cobblestones. The very first customer, a sweet little boy, walked inside with wide, excited eyes. Clara smiled warmly and gave him a delicious, sweet, sugar-dusted pastry on a napkin. More local neighbors arrived, filling the cozy shop with happy laughter and lively chatter. She stood behind her cash register, happily taking coins and wrapping fresh, warm bread. Her dream was finally a reality, and she felt incredibly grateful for this day. Outside in the sunlit courtyard, happy guests sat at round wooden tables under green trees. Clara walked through the doors carrying a tray of hot coffee and sweet pastries. A warm, gentle breeze blew through the garden, making the bright summer flowers dance. She carefully placed a beautiful plate of fresh strawberry tarts on a table. Two elderly women smiled warmly at Clara and praised her delicious, flaky fruit recipes. She sat down on a rustic bench for a moment to talk with them. The beautiful courtyard was filled with the cheerful sound of clinking porcelain coffee cups. Clara watched her happy guests enjoying the sunshine, feeling incredibly peaceful inside her heart. That weekend, Clara participated in the annual baking contest in the bustling town square. She stood behind a long table covered in a clean white linen tablecloth. Clara carefully displayed her signature chocolate cake, decorated with beautiful fresh red raspberries. 3 serious judges walked slowly down the row, tasting each delicious dessert entry. They stopped at Clara's table, looking carefully at her beautiful and creative design. One judge took a bite, chewed slowly, and smiled with great, pleasant surprise. Clara held her breath nervously, clutching her hands tightly together as she waited. Suddenly, the head judge announced her name, and the happy crowd cheered loudly. On a cold, rainy afternoon, dark clouds rolled in and covered the sky outside. Inside Clara's shop, warm yellow lights glowed brightly and kept the cold wetness away. Many wet people ran inside quickly to escape the cold rain with damp umbrellas. Clara happily poured steaming cups of hot chocolate topped with sweet, white, fluffy marshmallows. The large window pane was misty and covered with small, sliding water droplets outside. Families sat closely together at cozy tables, laughing and sharing delicious cinnamon rolls today. She felt so incredibly glad that her bakery was a safe, warm, and comforting refuge. Clara smiled warmly as she looked at the happy, dry faces around her cozy room. Months passed, and Clara's cozy bakery became the most popular spot in the town. One evening, she stepped outside onto the clean cobblestone street during a breathtaking sunset. The beautiful sky was filled with soft pink, warm orange, and deep golden clouds. She looked up at her beautiful new hand-painted wooden sign proudly hanging above. It read, "Clara's Cozy Bakery," in elegant gold-painted letters that shone brightly. She had worked extremely hard, and now her beautiful dream was completely and fully alive. She closed her eyes happily and breathed in the fresh, cool evening air deeply. Clara smiled with absolute joy, knowing her sweet journey had only just begun today.